Yes, we're going to start. I was waiting for stragglers. Yes, 10:04. Hi, 1966. We got some people that were here for 1956.
Almost nothing came out in that year. It's weird. It was a fallow year, like they were laying low, waiting for the next year.
66 is, it was, well, anyway, real briefly, a lot of people were here yesterday, but I'm Ted Acraft. I occasionally do movie reviews. I write, I moderate, I do a little bit of everything. I'm famous on the Richard introduced Rondo Award-winning Richard Shellback.
Thank you. I am a television writer, or was. I graduated to print after that, and now I do web content. So anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
And Ronnie joined us today. He'll be back tomorrow with us to do 76. He would have been with us yesterday, but he had a conflicting panel he was on. Ronnie, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name's Rod. Rodney Barnett. I go by Rod Barnett online because, well, one syllable's easier to remember than two. I'm a podcaster, and I do commentaries for Blu-rays. Basically, I'm just a movie geek, a comic book geek, a fantasy and science fiction geek, and all of the above. And although I have reached the point in my life in my 50s where every new fact I cram into the brain shoves at least 17 of them out, I'm still more than willing to talk about this, and I do love it. So.
Yeah, I shared a room one time recently with Rodney, and you can't get a word edgewise, and we're just he'll start something and I start something, and it's nonstop.
So I have an easy day today. I'll just shake my head a lot.
So
bring up the occasional.
We'll try to include you, really.
So the tradition here, I'm going to start out with the list of the highest grossing films of '66. And unlike 56, like I said yesterday, it was like, wow, there's a lot of films I haven't seen, a lot of films I'm not familiar with. This is probably quite the year, and I was 66. Oh, how old was I? I was born in 58. I was 8 going on 3. Yeah, 7 going on 8 that year, and
I was told there would be no math.
And we're going to the drive-in a lot, my family. We're going to the theater a lot. My dad liked movies. One reason my love of movies comes from my dad. So a lot of these things I'm seeing at the theater now as a very young kid. And I'm at that age, 8, 9 years old, where it's really going to, what do you call it? Stick in the DNA, with me the rest of my life. Anyway, here's the top grossing films of '66. Interesting enough, I'm kind of surprised with this one, but Hawaii was number 1 in terms of box office at '66. Then we got John Huston's The Bible in the beginning. Number 3, interesting one, we started the breakdown of the code with Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Mike Nichols' debut film. The Sand Pebbles, big epic Robert Wise with Steve McQueen in it. Kevin Smith's favorite film, The Man for All Seasons. Of all the films that Kevin Smith likes.
I would never have guessed that in a million years.
It's an interesting choice. I always thought that was interesting that Kevin. Number 6, The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. Alan Arkin, that's
saw that in the theater.
Norman Jewison, yeah. Number 7, a favorite of mine in my family household, Grand Prix. I heard someone on the panel hasn't seen it yet.
I've never seen it and probably never will.
Oh gosh. Anyway, number 8, The Professionals. Richard Brooks, a really interesting, wonderful Western.
Yeah.
Perfectly Marvin and Burt Lancaster vehicle. What's It All About? Alfie. Number 9 was Alfie. Kind of put Michael Caine on the map. And 10 was Hey There, Georgie Girl. Yeah, it's number 10, Georgie Girl. I know.
Catchy songs.
Catchy songs, terrible singing on my part, sorry. So here's my list. I've made a list of what I thought are films that should be talked about, possibly. It's full 4 pages, so we're not going to get through hardly any of it. And then I just separated a list. This is the list of my ones I really want to talk about, that mean something to me. But first of all, we're going to turn it over to Richard, and he's going to give us the slant on the science fiction, the genre stuff. And Rodney's going to be, I'm sure Rodney's going to interject on this at various times as Richard goes down this list here.
Well, it's a very interesting year for science fiction and horror. So.
Absolutely. And of those films, it's a really important year for Hammer Studios. They did 7 releases in that year, and keeping in mind, although they were wide-reaching, they were really a small studio. But they had out in '66 Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Plague of the Zombies, The Reptile, The Witches, and Rasputin the Mad Monk, and 1 Million Years BC. And The Reptile played an important part in 2 of those. It was the co-feature on both Plague of the Zombies and 1 Million Years BC, which I guess was an interesting way to do it, considering I don't think anybody went to 1 Million Years BC to see anything but Raquel in the bikini. So
unless you were a kid and you were going to see special effects.
Yeah, the dinosaurs.
actually, I was a 10-year-old and I went for both reasons. So
I always thought that
aspirational intent, were you?
yeah.
we were talking about this yesterday. I always thought it was really interesting with the Hammer films is that they were released by all different. They were being bought up by different studios. So you'd have a different opening for each of them because it'd be a Warner Brothers, 7 Arts, right?
Yeah.
Or Columbia, or MGM. So it was really a curious thing that they were just gobbling them up, but it wasn't one consistent studio. It was a mix of studios.
Yeah, they would distributing would be again pretty wide. I think every studio did at least one Hammer film, and it was to the point where anyone who was a Hammer geek sometimes couldn't find that on the poster because it was Warner Brothers, 7 Arts. It was this, that, and I would always want to see if it was a Hammer movie. So it's amazing how many Amicus movies I walked into thinking that they might be Hammer because Fred Francis was directing. And
call it a success for Amicus.
absolutely. And so Amicus had a pretty good year too, in that I'm almost positive they did Galaxy Invasion Earth 2150. I certainly knew that they did The Deadly Bees.
That's the Peter Cushing Doctor Who film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which
The ones that aren't counted, which is amazing. He did 2 as Doctor Who, and you go to websites that are only Doctor Who that will take you 3 hours to get through, but they will not mention those 2 movies.
Well, they're outside. I mean, the character's very different in the films.
Yes.
They posit a very different quote unquote Doctor Who.
Yeah.
First of all, they call him Doctor Who, which is wrong. But I love those. I love those films anyway.
Have they tried?
I own them on 4K. How much more can I love them?
have they tried to work it in somehow?
There are novels, and if you think there are a lot of Star Trek novels,
Oh, yeah.
Doctor Who novels will sit you down and slap you around. But there have been attempts, really,
To work it in,
entertaining attempts to,
Yeah.
to fold the Peter Cushing version of Doctor Who into the chronology of all the other stuff, which is really fun because all it does is put a big grin on your face because they don't need to.
I think the most common theory in a lot of the fan literature is that they are essentially biographical films from the Doctor Who universe.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Highly fictionalized movies about the real world figure of the Doctor.
There you go. Something an Alan Moore thing. Something Alan Moore would think of.
That did very much. It's fun.
Raquel also had a very good year because that was the year Fantastic Voyage came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had 2 biggies. Boy, that sounds so long. Anyway,
She always cuts me.
you can mute it.
Somebody was going to make the joke.
Oh, yeah.
I decided to step in front of the house.
You're here all weekend.
Yeah, and she guest starred on the Muppet Show, and anybody who guest stars on the Muppet Show automatically earns cool points.
Yes,
After that,
absolutely.
she never took herself too seriously, so
Yep.
that's a good thing.
So they also came out with my favorite Japanese rubber suit which is War of the Gargantuas.
Yes, yes, yes.
I love that movie. I am not a Godzilla fan, although I thought -1 now, I know.
Heretic.
But-
Freaking heretic.
But
Get the sticks.
my grandson is. I mean, for everything that I don't love about it, he does. But I showed him War of the Gargantuas, and he liked that too. So he's on board. So he's the family member who likes them, which is great. But anyway, yeah, Fantastic Voyage came out, and then in that kind of undersea adventure, we also had Destination Inner Space and Terror Beneath the Sea, Navy versus the Night Monsters, which I'm telling you, it was a watery kind of year. And the other thing that that I had a chance, a double feature that I actually had a chance to see at the Strand Theater in Hamden, Connecticut, was Billy the Kid versus Dracula and Jesse James meets Frankenstein's daughter. And as a 10-year-old, I ate it up. I mean, I thought these are wonderful films, and you see them afterwards, and you have that nostalgic feel to you that, oh yeah, I love this. It's the same thing with Horror of Party Beach and me. You know, there's something about it that I love, and I understand that they're trash, but I don't care. They're my trash. So, anyway,
I'd be willing to try to defend Dracula versus Billy the Kid, but I would be doomed to failure.
yeah, it's rough. I own them both on DVD, but yeah, I sit through them not quite as often as I think I should.
I sit through them every time I want to see my favorite trope about firing every shot out of a gun into a smiling vampire and then throwing the empty gun at the vampire and the vampire ducking the gun.
I think it was Robert Klein who commented on that on one of the stand-ups, early stand-ups, where it might have been Robert Klein, that they would do that on the Adventures of Superman also. And Superman should basically say, "You threw a gun at me? Do you even have a mother?" You know?
So he should just step up and just slap the guy.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
So anyway, there were quite a few releases that year that I am not going to go into, but it was an interesting year as far as horror and sci-fi goes. You had Fahrenheit 451, Seconds, which is a
classic.
very cool movie.
Which took a while to get a reputation.
Yeah, oh yeah, it took basically forever.
Yeah, and it's that's Frankenheimer, so Grand Prix and Seconds were out the same year?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, Seconds is a small scale film.
Right.
Grand Prix, I don't know how long it took.
Yeah, so yeah,
That'd
that's,
take forever, so.
so yeah, that's rather curious. Go ahead.
And then just to finish up, I did manage to get a couple of really odd ones in, which was Super Argo versus Diabolicus,
Yes.
and the Wild Woman of Batwoman. I'm sorry,
Wild
World of Batwoman.
Which is on Blu-ray, you should all own it.
Well, yeah, have you watched your copy?
No, I have not. I know the film well enough to know that I'm savoring it. I want to save it to save it.
But it was all because of the Batman craze.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that and we could stick a voluptuous woman in a skimpy costume and sell tickets.
I think in one of the other panel rooms, they are doing an anniversary of Batman, I think, the 66. And we have to keep that in mind, that that was hanging over this year big time.
Oh, absolutely.
Richard, I'm surprised you didn't mention the Ghost in the Invisible Bikini.
Yeah, because Karloff was in that one.
First of all, the fact that no one has mentioned the greatest film of '66 is a little impressive.
Well, I haven't started yet, but maybe I don't know. I'll let you.
The fact that no one has mentioned the Ghost of Mr. Chicken.
Oh, well, yeah, it's on the list. It's on the list. But
I mean,
Yeah, it's on the list here too.
the Oscars obviously ignored it. And I know you're probably gonna lead with this. I was as soon as you started talking about your own your own personalized
Yeah,
list.
maybe not, never know.
I thought,
Well,
I bet the top of the list is Our Man Flint.
it's there, yeah, that's a big one for me. But the Ghost of the Bikini is interesting because it's technically part of the beach movies. And there's a whole series of, and speaking of the, the beach movies, we also there were a couple of really weird tail-end ones. One of them had cameos with Harvey Lundbeck as Eric Von Zipper and Annette and Frankie. The second one didn't, but it's by Baba, and it's Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs.
Right.
AIP picked it up. I don't even know, I think I wonder if I knew the genesis of that, but I think it was just a pickup and they converted it maybe, or was it, Baba was hired to do, to make the sequel?
I'll step in front of this bus. Possibly, probably, painfully, probably the worst film Mario Bava made. But there are two versions of the film. The version that we got here in the States, the version AIP put together, not that they like booted Mario Bava out. Everybody was involved in this. Everybody was feeding the baby the wrong food. The Italian version is better, but it has a massive flaw known as Franco and Ciccio.
Oh yeah.
An Italian comedy duo who were...
Buster Keaton even did a film with them.
Yes, he did. They're extraordinarily popular, and I have sat through 3 or 4. The mind blurs because it's like taking psychedelics. Their comedy does not travel well. I've recently found out why Franco and Ciccio's comedy does not travel well outside of Italy, other than the fact that I want to strangle them. It is that a lot of what they do, a lot of the stuff that made them extraordinarily popular, can't really be effectively translated from Italian because a lot of it is very specific wordplay in Italian, specific to the fact that they're from the south part of the country, and their accents make certain things funnier when they're mispronounced or when they use the wrong word in a certain way. It's stuff that you need, not just subtitles, but footnotes to really get the humor of it, and then you still sit there and go, well, I can see how that would be funny to you. So, yes, that Mario Bava film exists. As a completist, I've seen it, and I'll just say I don't own it. Oh God, no, wait, I do. I think it's part of a box set.
Jim, were you going to say something
Well,
about
no, I was going to second Robbie's point. Essentially, what had happened was the scriptwriter was given an assignment to do a sequel to Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine and the two mafiosi versus Goldginger. So one that wrote this one massive script, and they hacked it up into the various parts that were related to Goldfoot and the Franco and Ciccio character.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Italian version is better, but that's kind of like saying that a car accident that killed 4 people is better than a car accident that killed 8 people.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
I also say that a lot of these Italian directors at the time were like, you know them for horror or whatever, but they weren't doing westerns or whatever. Like Mario Bava did a western in '64,
Yeah.
and I've seen it, and it's like,
Yeah.
Well, the westerns he did, he was not cut out for westerns. He did do a comedy later on that I think is actually pretty darn good. It's a sexy comedy called 4 Times That Night. It's not a bad little movie. I mean, it's not great. It's not gonna make you forget Black Sabbath or Black Sunday, but it's good. But his touch was elsewhere. Let's put it that way.
Speaking of Italian directors, since you mentioned, you mentioned Italian, Sergio Corbucci. In '66, he's got several out, but again, we have to keep in mind, we're getting a lot of these late. I'm not, they're not particularly being specifically '66, but the Hellbenders from Corbucci came out, and also Navajo. And that was
the one Burt Reynolds spaghetti western.
And of course, and what Burt trying to do, his buddy Clint Eastwood is having big success. And '66 is when The Good, Bad, and Ugly is officially released. We don't see it until '68. But, so Burt's going to, and I think the joke is Burt's always said, I got the wrong Sergio. Because...
Corbucci's not, he was not a slacker.
Yeah, no, and he's got Django in his pocket.
Yeah,
you know.
and the same year,
Yeah,
66, Django came out, which is one that's, you know, thank goodness the past 30 or 40 years, you know, it was a worldwide hit at the time. Throughout the last few years of the 60s, it stuck around forever, but, you know, it's now kind of, it's cachet. It's grown and grown and grown. More and more people are aware of it because
Yeah.
all of the fake sequels that came out after it.
Oh, yeah. That was, well, yeah, that would be another panel, all the Italian sequels that were made that had nothing to do with the original, or they changed the actor, or they changed the dubbing, that would be a,
Also, Franco Nero is a fucking movie star.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He is like amazing.
Yeah,
And that's the movie that broke him as a lead actor. That's the one that put him on the map. I mean, you can see him, you can see his baby face that himself in movies before that, and you're just kind of like, oh, he's gonna become a badass, but he's not now.
hey, he's always in my mind, he's Lancelot, you know, you know, from Camelot, that's the.
I'm just remembering him from the Gamma 1 films, the science fiction films Marguerite made before he made back to back that were originally done for television. And Franco Nero is like a secondary character in that, and you just like it's Franco Nero in Marvel stage. He will eventually become what he became. But.
So, Rodney, what were some of the films that stuck out to you, looking over at 66?
Well, like I said, I mean, there's a wealth of fantastic stuff that came out of '66. I will say up front that out of the highest grossing ones, I don't really think anything beats Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I think that's an astonishing film and just a brilliant thing from start to finish. But then it's Edward Albee stage play. I mean, you'd have to sit down and throw money at something intentionally to screw it up, and they just did a genius job with it from top to bottom. It's just a great film. It's one of those it's like 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
It's just sturdy as it can be, and just a brilliant movie. Dracula Prince of Darkness, I think, is the film that we can look to on the horror side, especially from Hammer, as the first. It's the first sequel to Dracula with Christopher Lee in it. There was in 1960 there was Brides of Dracula, which did not have Lee. And although I love both films, I think everybody's going to agree that that's the one that kicked off the whole. We'll pay Christopher Lee whatever we can get to get him back in any film that has the word Dracula in the title. And when you see the film, you kind of understand it. Lee always talked about how he despised the dialogue written for the character and refused to say any of it, which apparently is true, but honestly it makes the film work better because it's just that much more menacing.
So mysterious.
Yeah.
You know.
The twofer, the Cornish films made by Hammer, made by John Gilling, Plague of the Zombies and The Reptile. Of the two, I prefer Plague of the Zombies, but I'm not going to kick The Reptile out of bed. Both great films, and the fact that they were released in the same year, I mean, he made them back to back on the same sets, the same locations. Very good films, and I'm glad since the advent of DVD in the early 90s, people have actually been able to pay attention to them because they don't have any of the standard stars that we associate with Hammer films, and so they, for the most part, kind of slide under the radar until you're actually going, well, what else does Hammer produce? And they're a wealth of interesting things. There were two Matt Helm films in 1966. Two of them.
We're in the Bond craze, obviously. The Bond craze is in full speed, and so yeah.
So there was the Silencers and.
I got it here somewhere.
But and to be honest, that's appropriate because I have a tendency to have them all kind of rammed together in my head.
Was it the Demolishers?
No.
Something like that.
Yeah, the movie may have been based on that particular novel.
I'll find it here somewhere.
I don't remember. But there were two of them in the same year, which kind of seems like, you know, really trying to work Dean Martin to death. I don't think that's a good idea. Harper, the Paul Newman film, which I heartily recommend. Brilliant film. Just absolutely fantastic. I mean, come on, man. It's Lauren Bacall and Paul Newman.
Murderers Row.
Murderers Row, that's
Yes.
it. If you want more Christopher Lee, there's, as he said, Rasputin the Mad Monk, which is to history what chocolate is to calorie counting. So be aware of that.
Is it better or worse than John Wayne's The Conqueror?
Which,
By
by
the
the
way,
way,
I would, Rasputin at least is entertaining in a way that doesn't make you feel like, oh wow, all these people are gonna die of cancer.
Gotcha.
and by the way, Conqueror was a 56 film. I didn't mention it yesterday, but it was actually a 56 release.
You said there were 2 John Wayne movies you were gonna talk about, and I knew Searchers was one, and I thought The Conqueror was the other one. so-
Yeah, I forgot. We never got to it. Yeah. So.
You know, that's appropriate.
No, I was gonna say,
I enjoy the film. Not to delve into a film from a decade before, but man, Conqueror is a fun watch for every reason it should be.
Well, and last night we talked about 56 being the end of Martin Lewis, and you just mentioned 2 Dean Martin movies. Jerry's busy too, and 66 he does Way Way Out. And I think that he might have done another one, and of course, Way Way Out's, the space race is also going on, so that's trying to tie in on that.
Well, to stay close to my heart, I'm not going to talk about Born Free because I've seen Born Free, and I've seen Born Free. It's a good thing that I've seen it and I've moved on in my
We
life.
can all sing along. No, it's not.
I saw that in the theater too.
But as far as foreign cinema, which is what I tell you mentioned one kaiju release, which is the best of those, which
more,
is
yes.
War of the Gargantuans.
Yeah.
There's also Ibra, Horror of the Deep, which is weak, but I don't think kids really cared. There was Gamera versus Baragon, one of the Gamera films. They once again all run together. The 60s Gamera films all have a tendency to run together really hard for me. There was Modesty Blaze, a film that was not appreciated at the time. I think it's become more appreciated as time goes on, as with almost everything involving terror.
If I may interject again, that's of course tying to the Bond craze. It was a very popular strip in England, and then they made novels out of the guy who did the strip, wrote the novels. But it was so interesting. You got Monica Vitti playing Modesty Blaze, and she's more of an art house. She's usually associated with Antonioni, the Italian director, and then the director of Modesty Blaze is Joseph Losey, who is a guy who left America because he has communist ties early on, and he went over and ended up doing a string of really interesting films in England. And he's an art house. He's more of an art house director, and he's doing Modesty Blaze. So it's a really weird mashup. And it took a while. It started to get. It
took decades before people really
people were
appreciated it.
having second thoughts, like, "Oh, this is worth seeing." But in terms of Modesty Blaze fans, they're like, "What the heck?" So,
Yeah. But believe me, we still, even though there's been another Modesty Blaze film at a very low budget, we're still waiting for a good Modesty Blaze film.
I'm surprised we haven't seen one.
From Japan to zig in the Japan direction, a film I have an ocean of love for, Seijun Suzuki's Tokyo Drifter. If you've never seen it, highly recommend. It is visually astonishing. It's a Japanese gangster story told with a color palette of how many colors can we get on the freaking screen. It's brilliant from top to bottom. Tokyo Drifter is a great introduction to Seijun Suzuki. After that, you'll breathe a sigh of relief when you see some of his black and white films, because it's like, okay, we're not going to go crazy with the colors.
And Tokyo Drifter is a Criterion release to show you how important they think that is.
It's an incredible movie. There were 2 Elvis movies in '66. That feels like 3 too many.
And then last year, last night was our first. 56 was his first year, and now he's doing multiple movies that just started.
Yeah, he is, and the quality certainly shows it. Anyway, one of them was Paradise Hawaiian Style, and the other was Spin Out. If you've seen either of them, I apologize. Let's see, the Gregory Peck film, Arabesque.
Well, that's on my own little personal list of things that impacted me as a kid early on. Maybe this is too silly to mention, but I saw that in the theater. Well, maybe on TV though too. I'm not sure. But I remember thinking there's a scene where Gregory Peck is hiding out in the bath in the shower with Sophia Loren, and in the narrative of the story, Sophia's in the bath naked. Well, but you know, it's not, you're not gonna see anything. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, Gregory Peck standing there with the naked and Sophia Loren. It was really, it was a little, I guess I was starting to, I hadn't hit adolescence yet, but I was on the verge. So that was a really, really titillating scene for me. And that was Stanley Donen.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to,
He was imitating Hitchcock.
he was trying to get that charade magic again.
Yeah.
You know, you had Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant in charade, and did really well. And it was, everybody calls it Hitchcock Light. And so here he's trying that again with Gregory Peck and Sophia Loren, and it didn't really succeed as well. But it's watchable. And but as a little kid, it was like, whoa. So I remember really getting a kick out of it as a kid.
In the science fiction horror realm, there's one that we haven't talked about, which is a wonderful film that came out in '66. Not a Hammer film, but it does star Peter Cushing. Island of Terror.
Yeah.
The silicate monsters on an island off the coast. Wonderful movie. I always think of it as the film in which Peter Cushing loses a hand. Just a great, tight little, you would almost refer to it as a siege story, with the thing where you're isolated in a place you can't get away from and the monsters are coming. It's really well done. I love Island of Terror. I'll never forget when I first stumbled across it when it got issued on VHS sometime in the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
Just sitting there and going, where's this film been all my life? I for years I think people thought of it as a Hammer film if they saw it because of Peter Cushing's involvement and the storyline.
Well, it was Terrence Fisher as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's Terrence Fisher not doing a Hammer film.
I think it was a Sangster script also.
Oh, wow.
It was like all for Ed Hammer.
And it's really good, but it is the kind of thing that I'm not sure Hammer would have approached because of the science fiction element. So.
Well, at that point, they were between Quatermass movies, so
Yeah.
the timeline.
That was really the only science fiction they did, and that was because that had been proven a success on television before they ever did it.
They didn't get back to that until '67.
Richard, did you go to see Monsters Go Home in the theater?
No, I was an Addams Family kid.
Okay, and it really, it was when you were an Addams Family kid and not a Monsters kid, were they on the same time, or could you watch both of them?
No, just one is clearly better than the other.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things where I didn't think we should be making fun of the Universal monsters.
Okay.
I was, well, okay, that's fine, but
Well, that was never my feeling. I was always an Addams Family kid. When, of course, I'm seeing them in reruns of the '70s, and I'm seeing the Addams Family, and I'm like, this is funny on its own. And then I would see an episode of the Monsters, and it's like, so just goofy shit. It's just goofy. But the Addams Family wasn't goofy. You had to realize what the worldview of these characters was, and that was where the humor was. Their worldview was not normal, and that was lovely. That's what the humor sprang from. But the Monsters was just like,
The Monsters
the
are
risk
recent
relation
relations
to large
fantasy
jury.
at its heart.
I should point out, Rod is the baby of the group here.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I
I am a
66,
child.
what year were you born, Rod?
68.
68, so 156 was for me yesterday, this is 66 is him. What about, you guys, any thoughts on, what did I see, I saw this,
Well,
go ahead.
66 was the official release date for one of the best of Mario Bava's films, if we're going to talk about the worst. Kill Baby Kill.
Yes.
Which is a phenomenal film. One of the creepiest ghost stories that you'll ever see. Once again, isolated location, little country village.
And one of the most influential as well.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. I mean, influential within a year.
And Jennifer, when you say influential on what?
Well, let's see, Fellini basically took his iteration of the devil from the Toby Dammit segment of Spirits of the Dead straight from Bava. Moreover, Martin Scorsese is on record that his iteration of Satan from The Last Temptation of Christ was also a direct Mario Bava.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Just a great film. When you start talking about Mario Bava's horror films, it's like, what are your favorite, all of them. So
Cannot recommend that one enough, though.
great film. We mentioned the Hitchcock light stuff. Hitchcock did have a film out that year, not one of his best, but it is worth seeing if you're a Hitchcock fan. It's called Torn Curtain. Great cast. It doesn't help because the film itself is not as, it's really not one of his best by any stretch of the imagination, but it's worth seeing for a number of the set pieces in it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a little trivia on that was Harriman, Bernard Harriman, the guy who did most of his music, I mean, the ones that we remember the best, had a score. They had done a score, and then something happened for them. They had a falling out, and he replaced it. And it's Hitch trying to adjust to all these new actors. You know, Paul's more of a method type actor. Paul Newman is it, and Julie Andrews is a different type of star. He's having to do it, and he's having some struggling with it. I think that's part of the struggle.
That's probably one of the things that sets it apart is that you look at the cast and you're thinking to yourself, there's no Hitchcock people in here. You know, I mean,
There's an inherent cognitive dissonance in an espionage movie with Julie.
Yeah,
exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Almost
The hills are
just for
alive
that.
with the sound of you going to prison. Yeah. No one has yet mentioned Carry On Screaming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought Richard might bring that up. Did you see any Carry On movies when you were a kid?
No.
I don't think
I saw them
they traveled
in my
over here.
teens.
I don't think they did either. I don't think they got distributed well in America.
Yeah, they pretty much came through like the back channels, like
Yeah.
like the second. They were pretty much released, if at all, in the U.S. as B features.
Yeah.
If you're unaware, the Carry On films, Carry On was a series of British comedies, and they were essentially parody films. Imagine Mel Brooks given free reign to make 20 freaking movies in a row.
Yeah. It'd be Carry On something,
That
Carry
might
On
be giving them
does
a
Carry
little
On.
too much credit.
But at least give you an idea of the tone. But Carry On Screaming, I have to admit, is the only one I've ever seen. I did enjoy it, but Carry On Minister is not something I'm gonna spend a whole lot of time seeking out. So it's just not my thing. But it is. I did enjoy it. It's exactly the kind of whoopsie humor you would expect from the period, especially from Britain, where it's like, oh my goodness, can we get away with this? And it's like, yeah, you can get away with it. Go ahead, come on, give us a joke. We haven't mentioned Battle of Algiers.
Well, it's on my list. I mean, I'm letting you take the lead here on some of these.
I don't know that. I mean, it's a. I wouldn't call it a forgotten film, and then talk about the Criterion Collection again. But it is one that, for a lot of people, is going to be a one-time watch.
Yeah, it's again a great Morricone score. A lot of people remember it for the. Speaking of Morricone, I guess we should say, of course, I can't let it go because Sergio Leone is my god. The Good, Bad, and the Ugly is released in '66, but we don't. In America, we don't see it until '68. Yeah. But so if you were living in Italy or some other countries, you got to see it first there. And of course, that's the climax of the Sergio's trio with Clint Eastwood. And then after that, Clint Eastwood doesn't look back. He goes on and carves out his own American career. Another Jerry Lewis, I said both Dean and Jerry had multiple movies. They were going full tilt. He also had Three on the Couch. And Three on the Couch and Way Out are both ones that he was work for hire on those.
Yeah.
And they're not his projects. Jerry would sprinkle in things that he would direct, like Nutty Professor, or things like that, where he would write, and it would be his baby. Then sometimes he just job himself out as an actor and other things. And these are a couple ones that he was just doing it for the job, really.
And in Way Out, Karloff is in it in clips.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's it? What kind of clips?
I truly don't remember. It's
Huh.
it's in the book Dear Boris,
Yeah.
and I do have Way Out. I just still have not gotten to rewatching it. But he's supposedly in clips in the movie, so I'm going to, right after the convention, I'm going to check it out.
There you go.
Because it's something I've been threatening to do for over a decade.
Speaking of the Bond craze, did you have Funeral in Berlin?
Yeah, the second Harry Palmer.
The second Harry Palmer film. Michael Caine's doing his own Bond type films, and it's Harry Saltzman is the producer who has won the co-producer for the Bond films. So Harry was like taking his money and doing all kinds of films whereas Broccoli just stayed true to the Bond franchise. And then basically Harry got in debt, had to sell his portion, and the Broccoli family, well, they don't have it anymore either now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they hold on to it for
Yeah.
forever, and I think they, I think like 7 generations of them will never have to worry about film,
Right.
about money ever again. So.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just listening to the movies, and there have been some great ones, there have been some ones that I like. But there's something I'm noticing about the demographics for the year 1966. I'm not hearing any good movies, and some good, that might have been considered to be aimed primarily at a female demographic.
Okay.
Lots of movies that are, again, the James Bond movies, the Matt Helm movies, the Flint movies,
We're in a very masculine era.
And that's being led by the Bond craze.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, were there any actually good movies made for women this year?
Well,
yes, but they came from France.
Trouble with Angels? Trouble with Angels.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll give you that one.
would you consider this property as condemned? I don't know how good it is, but it's centered around Natalie Wood.
Well,
How about Ingmar Bergman's Persona?
Yeah, there you go.
That's just depressing. So.
Yeah.
but I would say, I mean, it's not completely the 60s, because in other years, I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned Julie Andrews, you mentioned Torrey Burton, and I was thinking of the Americanization of Adelaide.
That was I'm
That was 64, I believe.
No, I got it confused with the Thoroughly Modern Millie was 67.
You got Chelsea Girls, man. You Warhol.
Oh, Georgie Girl, yeah, I forgot Georgie Girl.
There's Georgie Girl,
Yeah, Georgie
but there's Chelsea Girls. But that's a.
How
that's
about
a-
Harry and Sukiyaki and What's Up Tiger?
That's I don't think it was 66 though, was it?
I thought it was.
I didn't see it. I didn't come across that.
Which one?
I think the original film it was derived from may have been 66.
Oh,
It wasn't
maybe
actually
that's what it
released in
is.
the US until, that Woody Allen acted up later on.
Right.
Vanessa Redgrave and Morgan,
Is that 66? I think.
yeah, because they were nominated that year.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is Morgan, and then Vanessa's got a really nice part in that. So you know what you have.
Okay, no, I mean,
There are a lot of films in '66 with very strong roles for women.
yeah, but they're not
ones that aim at a
necessarily.
female audience.
Yeah. And you have to understand. Yeah, like I said last night with 56, it's a slow burn, to get where we're at now, and it's still questionable even now sometimes.
Yeah, we're not there now.
Sixes tend to be very transitional years. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
sevens where things get really interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of the Bond craze, the man called Flintstone, we can't forget that.
This is true. It took me forever. I picked up a DVD of that for like $3 on the big lots, like 20 years ago. It sat gathering dust until I finally one day, because I'm not the biggest Flintstones fan, I have to admit. But I went, you paid money for this forever ago. And I watched it and I went, holy crap, this could have turned me into a Flintstones fan. I really enjoyed that film. I mean, yes, it was created simply because of the Bond craze, but I found it actually entertaining as hell in a way that I've only been irritated by the television show. So call me a Flintstones heretic, sorry. But.
Speaking of women, we should also point out Cynthia Lumet does a movie called The Group.
Oh,
Now, whether that
Candace Bergen.
now whether that is a good reflection on women in that group, but it is women-centric, very much so. Packed with all kinds of interesting ladies in that. Guys, any thoughts on probably one of the highlights of the year? I'm sure for everybody. Manos, The Hand of Faith.
Yeah, I got thoughts on it,
I have
but
thoughts.
probably not the right thing for this.
They're related to toilet paper.
It's considered one of the worst films, one of those worst films, worst big turkeys, and it's actually Mystery Science Theater actually did I think they bought it, right? Is that what I heard?
Well, that's just it. I mean,
Yeah.
almost no one would know about the stinking
Yeah.
film except that MST made
They made a meal of it.
They made a meal off of it, and that is really the best way to see the movie is because to see that movie without them cracking jokes about it is to essentially draw a razor slowly across your arm.
There is a puppet remake that is well worth seeing though, called Manos and Hands of Felt.
Seriously.
Oh, the title alone.
But there are two genre efforts. One is another spaghetti western that came out that year, a very good one, The Big Gun Down, which kind of kicks off it after the. Yeah, exactly. That's the first the non-Sergio Leone spaghetti western starring Lee Van Cleef, and it really kind of proved that Lee Van Cleef could be a star.
Yeah, it's great.
Would in the Italian westerns. It's another Sergio Solano.
Yeah. And Marconi score too again.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. It's Lee Van Cleef and Thomas Milione, and so just an excellent film. But also we can't skip past. Thunderbirds are good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lots of people would like to skip past Thunderbirds. They are wrong.
I mean, to be fair, if you talk about Italian movies in the 60s and Morricone scores, you have to consider the Morricone scores as a percentage of the whole.
True. Very true.
Fair point there.
We're getting running close on time. Let me run through a few of mine, so if you don't mind, Rod.
Yeah.
How about Seven Women? John Ford's last film.
Oh, I forgot that was.
That's a really good example. I just watched that recently.
I think it's John Ford's only. I mean, it's not his only movie with cool women in it, but it's the only one that had a female protagonist.
I know, and I just recently
It was John Ford going, here's one for the chicks.
They just recently put it on Blu-ray, and I watched it, and I was amazed how good it is because
What's a solid film?
Anne Bancroft's character is just a hoot in that thing.
And Bancroft is the reason that I sat down to watch it. I was like, what the hell? And then, you get 15 minutes into it and you're like, yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah, and there's Quentin Tarantino made a big deal recently about he doesn't want to be an old man making films. There's a whole thing about old man films. And there's a case to be made director by director. You just can't broadly say that. And this right here proves, I thought, well, this is his last film. He tried to do another film and he didn't get to finish Young Cassidy, I think with Rod Taylor, someone else, Anthony Harvey or somebody else had to finish. But Seven Women is just really a strong film. I was amazed how I was really got swept up in it. A fun film I saw as a kid, and this is what branded me, my impression of Victor Mature is always due to this film, is After the Fox. With Peter Sellers. Have anybody seen that one? Peter Sellers is fobbing himself up as a film director, and they hire Victor Mature, and Victor's playing Victor Mature to the hell, with greasy hair and the greasy face and big chest and everything, and it's just really funny. Another film my dad and I really loved was The Appaloosa with Brando. It's Sidney Fury, after the Ipcress file made him a big success, he comes over to America. He's Canadian, actually a Canadian director, but he's over in Britain. And now he's in America, and he's still in his, every frame has to be totally, things are just, you notice the framing of every shot of these widescreens. He'll put things objects on the sides and shoot this certain way. And then of course he's dealing with Brando, so that was always it's not considered, this is considered that really bad period of Brando, pre-Godfather, after he just kind of bottomed out a little bit. But they're always interesting. Brando always makes it interesting. So, and John Saxon gets to play a nice baddie in that. Then one film that I really grew to love, I've done a podcast on it. I really have taken to it is The Chase with Arthur Penn, Brando again. And he was kind of engaged at first, and then typically he gets disengaged after something happens on the set or something. But it's Jane Fonda, it's with Robert Redford before Butch Cassidy Sand's Kid. It's got a Maurice Binder title credit sequence, and it's got John Barry's score. So it's got this kind of weird ears that Bond feel, even though it's the rural South in Texas taking place. Andrew Gibson's in it. And there's a spoiler alert, Redford, there's a sequence where there's an assassination at the end, and it is blatantly making you think of the Jack Ruby assassination. It's a purpose. And I think Arthur Penn's trying to give this whole subtext of the violence in America starting to really, ever since we got the JFK assassination and just how America's getting more violent. And of course, we're better yet to be in Texas, since this film in Texas. And I like this one sequence where they're all having parties, and they're all Texans, so we all have guns. And Janice Rule invites Brandon to the party. He goes, well, I don't think there's a room for my gun in here with all the other guns here. You know, I'm not paraphrasing the phrase, but it's a great line. Harry Saltzman, going back to Saltzman producing Chimes of Midnight, guys. Of course it was.
Yeah, but did that really get a release?
No, again, it's probably good bad the ugly scenario.
Yeah.
Because it took me forever to see a Chimes of Midnight. But man, I think it's, everybody dogs on horse, and like, he's only got one film, maybe two good films, and I think this is one of the good films.
Chimes of Midnight is a brilliant film.
Yeah.
It was hampered hideously by the hoops he had to jump
And
to
it's-
get made, but yeah.
And again, the influence of Wells still goes on to the day. I got a kick out of Luc Besson's Dracula that just came out too. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it while also thinking to myself, yes, Luc Besson. Thy middle name is derivative.
So at the beginning, there's that fight scene with the knights, and he's riffing on Chimes of Midnight editing.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, this should not be a discussion of a film
Yeah.
that just came out and that most people despise. But at the same
I
time,
didn't despise it.
the film, there are so many moments in the film where I was just like, why aren't his soldiers with him? And,
I know. I'm sure you can pick it apart, but I had a lot of fun with it.
I did too.
Well, fun fact about Chimes of Midnight, the second unit director who directed most of the battle scenes was Jess Franco.
Jess Franco.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, I saw one of the dealers in the vendors room. He's got that horrible compilation of Don Quixote that Jess Franco did.
Yeah, I don't know, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, that was actually how they ended up endearing themselves to each other in the first place.
Right.
I should say how Roger Kodar met Franco to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, I'm getting to the end here, and I think there's an overview that 66 is the new era.
Yes,
Coming
well,
up.
and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is really a vanguard in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, a good, the bad, and the ugly is going to kill the
Yeah.
West. It's dead.
Well, it killed it and revived it.
It thrashed around for a good decade after that, trying to pretend it wasn't done. Yeah.
But that Western that when Clint Eastwood comes back and is doing High Plains Drifter,
Yeah.
that's the new Western. Okay?
Right.
The idea of Gene Autry and John Wayne is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea of, and you see how films are being changing, like Grand Prix looks like a 70s film.
Yeah.
Okay, and you see these things coming up, and it's like half of it is like people trying to make something new, and the other half is people trying to things are changing,
Yeah.
Rubber Soul.
Right.
How do we keep up?
Well, and it comes to the really the definitive flashpoint. You had The Graduate, you got Bonnie and Clyde, you got Afraid of Virginia Woolf. The flashpoint is going to be Easy Rider. That's really what changes a lot. But yeah, did you see Blow Up? Yeah, Blow Up is 66. That's Antonioni, and he's in Swinging He's in Swinging London. And that's happening really big time. Speaking of Swinging 60s, I can't say one of my favorite directors. I have to mention A Funny Thing Happened Away the Forum, Richard Lester, and Fine Form. Fine Form. Anyway, not that the writers of that movie, the play in Sondheim, I don't think they were happy with Lester's, but I love Lester's version of that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that if you're adapting a play to a screen, there are things that are going to have to be altered. Otherwise, you're just watching somebody lock a camera down and shoot actors on a stage. If you don't make it dynamic, it's not going to work as a film. And anytime you start doing anything to it, a lot of stage authors just have a stinking hemorrhage, and it's like, man, do you want this thing to succeed on film or not?
And Forum was my dad's favorite comedy. And we would literally, anytime it came on TV, we would turn our chairs and watch him more than the movie. Because it got to the point where he was asthmatic and he literally couldn't breathe because he was laughing so hard at it. And he was a huge slapstick fan, so the fact that he Keaton was in it.
Buster, yeah.
And, you know, I mean.
It's Buster's last film, feature
Yeah,
film.
it was, that has a place in my heart.
And I love how he takes the Roman hat and makes it a pork pie hat out of a metal Roman type thing. But let me, real quick, you're a big boy now, Coppola, early Coppola film, and it's one of his, it's kind of a nod. He's got, at this time, Richard Lester is making a lot of influence. Now he's forgotten, it seems like, and everybody curses him for the Superman stuff. But you see some Lester antics type things in You're a Big Boy Now, and De Palma in his early films, his early political films. I was watching High Mom just the other day, and it's like, oh, I see some Lester in that. So Lester's at the height of his powers because he's just coming off the Beatle films. A cartoon is out this year in '66. Yeah. It's a big epic with Charlton Heston and Laurence Olivier. It takes place in the Sudan, and I remember that at the time, the critics, and even now, when you watch it, of course, unfortunately now, you know, it's Olivier doing, I guess, for lack of a better word, blackface, because he's, you know, in a total Arab makeup, or Sudanese makeup, or whatever tribe he's doing. It's one of the few times that Charlton Heston kind of outacts Laurence Olivier in this movie. It's like he's got a juicier part, and he actually holds his own, and even best Olivier, who's, you know, always been considered the best actor, you know. And you speaking of the westerns and the good, bad, and the ugly, killing things. Favorite of mine, I saw this first before I saw Rio Bravo. I saw El Dorado came out in '66. And I've always enjoyed James Caan with his little sawed-off shotgun and everything. But here you got Mitchum and you got John Wayne, and they're getting long in the tooth. The TV is basically saturated with westerns,
Right.
and just kind of killed the market. And these old guys are just still hanging on. Jimmy Stewart and Ricardo, they're trying their best to hang on. That's how I kind of grew up. I was like, these guys were old men riding horses. And then along comes the spaghetti western, and just like I said, just changes the whole atmosphere. And then you got the professionals with Aldrich, which kind of
well, it's grittier.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more like what the Italians were doing at the time. It feels a little bit more realistic than some of the stuff that was coming out of Hollywood as a western in the '60s.
right. And don't you think, you know, the spaghetti westerns, specifically the Leones, of course, they had a little bit extra magic because of Leone's eye and vision, and Leone can make a film. But the professionals and then the Wild Bunch, the Wild Bunch would not have been made probably without the success of the spaghetti westerns, probably.
And
Definitely not.
also, what gets overlooked is people think the '70s gritty, dirty New York is something that the Americans invented. But it's the Italian Eurocrime that's coming up now. They look like '70s crime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the explosion of Eurocrime from Italy, the Eurocrime stuff made in Italy in the '70s. I mean, it all boiled out of the hideous terrorism that was going on in the country at the time, constant unrest, the madness that was going to Years of Lead. I mean, there's an entire box set of those films called that because that's what they were referred to. And it's absolutely, those are films that kind of rewrote how we're going to do crime films, and there was a great back and forth. It's hard to find what was the chicken and what was the egg between what was going on in other countries and what was going on in Italy, because they were feeding off of each other by that point so much that we always talk about the Italians being the people who were following along and taking a genre that had been a big hit and then just pounding away at it, mining it until they could find no more ore at all. But in that particular genre, it was back and forth, because that genre has never really gone away. It's ebbed and flowed, but that's a conversation for the 76 panel maybe.
And speaking of the westerns, Ride the Whirlwind, the shooting came out.
Yeah, the Monty Hellman.
Two Monty Hellman, little low-budget westerns with Jack Nicholson and Warren Oates, and really interesting little films. And Criterion considered them so important they put them out. We're really out of time, but you had one more thing.
No, I'm a musicals nerd, so I wanted to talk about Funny Thing Happened on the Forum again for a minute. What I appreciate about that film is that when talking about changes from Broadway to film, the one thing that annoys me most are cut songs. Cutting good songs, particularly if the songs are cut to accommodate non-singing actors.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that with Forum. They cast Michael freaking Crawford.
Yeah.
And the people who were in this handle the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Michael Horden, I got to see. I like to hear. He's a British actor.
Oh, yeah.
You would know his face if you saw it.
Michael Horden did Gandalf in the BBC Radio Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and he's a narrator in Barry Lyndon.
Oh.
But
Maybe the main character in Wistful and I'll Come to You, if you
Oh, yeah.
are familiar with M.R. James adaptations done for British television, which definitely takes us off topic, so.
well, anyway, we're out of time. So thanks, Richard and Rod, for helping with that. We could go on forever. We still have tons of stuff like The Family Way. They had Paul McCartney score. There's speaking of the Batman, Neil Hefti, Duel Diablo, another Western. But it's got a really cool theme song. It's by the guy who did the Batman theme. We mentioned Thunderbird. Oh, Fire! Another beach movie, kind of tail-end movie was Fireball 500 with Frankie Annette and Fabian. So you got the three of them in that. So yeah, it just goes on and on. Herman Hermits tried to do their Hard Day's Night movie called Hold On. Nevada Smith, a prequel, I think, sort of, or side, but that's from the Carpetbaggers. The Carpetbaggers had already been made, so they're just concentrating on McQueen's character, Nevada Smith. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're doing 76, sorry, and at 10 a.m. So,
yeah.
And we all have other panels, so
Yeah, we gotta take over.
we hope to see you there too. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Yeah, please come and drag
Hope we made
somebody to bed.
hope we made sense, because it was, I know with a lot of babbling going on there. Rambling, actually, more.
I'm gonna say this, you are right, I think the shooting is the best Westerner.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Oh, you forgot cul-de-sac.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I did. It's on
That's a
here.
favorite of mine.
Cul-de-sac, yeah.
Well, Cat the Giant Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gambit with Michael Caine.
Oh, The Fortune
I think
Cookie.
I saw the worst movie of the year in the theater that my mother dragged me to.
Which one?
The Fat Spy.
Is it one of
Phyllis Diller's in it and.
was it one of the comedians, the Rossi, or, I don't know,
It's on the list of 50 worst movies made ever, but it didn't even end the plot. It just said, stay tuned for the sequels, The Fat Spy Returns. I mean, it was like my mother just grabbed me and said, oh, it's the worst movie
Oh my
ever.
God, you're right, I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah, it's out there.
Jane Mansfield, Phyllis Diller, Brian Dunnigan. And a silly story about a search for the fountain of youth.
what year is it?
Oh, 66. That's
All right. I don't think I listened to that one.
ready?
Yeah, I didn't never even heard of this until this one.
I have to go get
Oh, really?
ready for the
Yes.
so
Thanks for your comments about Chuck.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it.
thank you. Ronald.
That was The Fat Spy. I'm glad I learned about it, and I'll never watch it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You guys are staying here?
I am.
I'm going to take my time standing up because my head is freaking killing me.
Gotcha. Okay.
See you, man.
And of course, this is your room, so.
Yeah, I need to go probably,
What's your next panel?
deconstructing diploma.